الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد. ولله الحمد والمنة. We covered a lot of the different masail in regards to Siyam Ramadan as we've been doing these classes since the beginning of Sha'ban. As we completed the majority of the masail or the affairs in regards to Siyam for this month. Alhamdulillah alladhi tatimmu bi ni'matihi salihat. For the fadl of Allah, and for Him is the praise in which by Him those righteous actions are completed. And we concluded and finished and finalized, if not all the masail. There's a couple of things that are left, which inshallah bi'idhnillah we'll try to cover today. So that will conclude our classes in regards to Siyam. Well, alhamdulillah, in Bulugh al-Maram we finished the chapter with the brothers. And the masail that's covered with the sisters, like I said, in regards to the in-depth details in regards to the woman's mens that are very, very in-depth that need a little bit more details, then that's a whole chapter in which we'll cover with the sisters after Ramadan once we finish the chapter of marriage. But the last thing we wanted to conclude, and what I wanted to speak about, just touch on it briefly, not that much, because I don't make the class too long, because I think everybody is a little bit tired from fasting and working and trying to pray at night, and it's very exhausting, and it is weary, and it weighs heavy on the body. So in regards to what we said last week, we talked about the woman, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written upon the daughters of Adam from having a mens, and what they call istihada, and what they call al-istihada, which is damu fasad, as we concluded that the difference between a woman's mens and what they call a sickness or a hemorrhage, for lack of better words, the difference between them and how to distinguish, and giving a little bit of details of how to distinguish between the two. But the last thing we wanted to cover briefly, and not to, like we said, not to dig deep in these matters, because like I said, it's a whole chapter, is speaking about what they call a nifas. A nifas. What is nifas? They call it postnatal bleeding. There's a hadith on Salama radiallahu anha. قالت كانت النفساء تقعد في عهد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بعد نفاسها 40 يوما رواه الخمسة إلا النسائي ترى عندما ولم يأمرها النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بقضاء صلاة النفاس. When Ithari Salama, it says that the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم, or during the time of the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم, that the women who are nufasa, the women who have postnatal bleeding during the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم, after she will have the baby, she will wait 40 days. She will wait 40 days. It says, Rawahul Khamsa illa Nasa'i. And there's another narration, a wording where it says that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ did not command the woman who's on her postnatal bleeding after pregnancy to make up the salat, to make up the prayer. But however, she would still have to what? She would still have to fast or make up the fast if she's not able, of course. If it's during the month of Ramadan and she's on a postnatal bleeding, then by all means, of course, we know. Number one, we'll discuss the matters about a nifas or postnatal bleeding as it takes the same hukum, as it takes the same ruling of a woman's mens. It's the same. As far as what a woman leaves off from the different affairs and the different aspects of worship. So they're both the same as far as in the ahkam or the rulings regards to what a woman leaves off. So we'll discuss that in a minute. In the narration when the Prophet ﷺ in this hadith on the authority of Salama, when it says that we used to sit during the time of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, meaning after a woman had her baby or her child, will be 40 days. Is this the extent of how long a woman exactly is supposed to wait after she has a child? This we'll discuss in a minute, inshallah. Because a lot of sisters, when they read this hadith, they think that once she has a child, automatically she's supposed to wait 40 days. Is this correct? Is it correct? It's kind of rhetorical. It's a rhetorical question, but which we'll address later. The sister wanted to say something? Somebody wanted to say something? Okay. طيب. So, if you notice in the narration, it says that a woman waits 40 days. On this narration, on the authority of Salama, radiallahu anhu ardaha, that it says that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or during the time of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we would wait, or we would sit. Taq'udu. It says in the narration, Taq'udu an-nisa, or nufasa, excuse me. The women who are on their postnatal bleeding would sit during the time of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam 40 days. What's the meaning of this hadith? For number one, we wanted to talk about and discuss about postnatal bleeding. Is it like a mens, or is it similar to a mens? Does it take the same hukum? What is it? For number one, you notice that the ulama have classified different aspects of blood in regards to the woman into different categories. For number one, we said you had the first category, which is a what? Which is a mens. That's number one. Then you had number two, the second category, which is what they call damu fasad, what they call istihada, which is a woman's, or what they call a hemorrhage or a sickness that comes out of the womb of the woman, but it's not a mens. And we talked about how the ahkam between the woman's mens and the woman's istihada, what they call a hemorrhage or type of sickness of blood, that they're different as far as in the ahkam, as far as in the rulings. As we know, a woman leaves off the salah while she's on her mens. But however, when she's on istihada, she doesn't leave off the salah. And we said, for example, when one woman is on her mens, she doesn't fast. She can't be intimate with her spouse as far as actual intercourse itself. She cannot be divorced. All these other ahkam that we talked about and discussed in regards to a woman's mens is totally different from istihada. We said istihada takes the ahkam of a woman being pure. Istihada takes the ahkam of a woman being pure. For istihada, a woman still prays, she still fasts, she can even still, upon a qawl rajih, which is the strongest opinion, she can still be intimate with her spouse, with her, of course, observing hygiene and doing certain things to stop the blood momentarily if she's able. All those other different things which she can indulge in while she's on her istihada, meaning from as if she's still pure. The only difference is, like we said, in regards to the hukum of istihada, is that she will purify the actual place, meaning her private part. She will maintain her hygiene, keep herself cleanly, and make sure the actual place where the blood emanates is clean, have a good fragrance to the end of it. And she will make a wudu for every salah, as we talked about. So a woman that's on istihada will make a wudu for every salah when the time comes in. When the time comes in, she'll make wudu, and whatever blood comes out during the prayer, then it's ma'fuun an, as they say in the Arabic language of the people of fiqh, it's ma'fuun an, meaning that it's overlooked by the shara' due to the fact that it has a hardship. But at any rate, all the different affairs we discuss between, or the differences that we discuss between a hayd, a woman's mens, and a woman istihada, we all said those details, and we don't need to reiterate them again, inshallah. So now about the third category. What about the third one? So we had a woman's mens, we have what they call istihada, now we have a third category. What's the third category? Third category is what they call nifas. What they call nifas. Nifas is postnatal bleeding, as we know. So you notice in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that the women would sit 40 days. The meaning of sitting here, meaning they would leave off the salah, and they would leave off fasting, and they would leave off making tawaf, or making circumambulation around the Kaaba, and also different things in regards to siyam and the different types of ibadah, they would leave off while they were on their postnatal bleeding. So while they were on their postnatal bleeding, they would take the ahkam or the hukum as if they were on their mens. It's the same thing. There's no difference. as far as what to leave off in regards to the prayer, in regards to siyam, in regards to also likewise pertaining to not going or making circumambulation around the Kaaba. If they were making Umrah or Hajj, the ahkam of a woman's nifas takes the same ahkam of a woman's mens. It's the same as far as what they leave off from the salat and siyam and other than that. طيب. So now what do we discuss now? What is the meaning of 40 days? So we notice that there are similarities in the first category and the third category. You have the woman who has she's on her mens, and then you have the third category where she's on her postnatal bleeding. And we said that both of them are what? Similar in regards to their ahkam. طيب, what is the meaning of the narration here? For number one, we say an-nifas is blood. It says turkhi al-rahm بعد الولادة يسمى نفاسا بكسر النون قيل مأخوذ من النفس وهو الدم. ولهذا يقول الفقهاء أن ما لا نفس له سائلة لا يؤثر في الماء إذا مات فيه يعني ما ليس له دم. Anyway, the meaning of nifas is blood turkhi al-rahm. He says that it comes out of the woman's womb or it carves it out. He said it is blood that it carves out the woman's womb. That's the meaning of nifas. So nifas, blood that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has legislated or has written upon, not legislated, has created within the woman, that is as if it cleans it out. It carves out or it cleans out the womb of the woman. So it's getting it ready for what? Maybe for another birth or another pregnancy, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preordains that. So this type of blood, which is called nifas, is as if it carves out and cleans out the womb. Turkhi rahim. Cleans it out after birth. And that blood is called nifas. It's called nifas, or postnatal bleeding. You'll find that Ahl Ilm, that they say that the meaning of what it was called nifas, meaning is from tanfis. One of them say it's from tanfis. Tanfis means to remove something, or for something to come out, or for something to be extracted or removed. Because the blood that comes out after birth of the rahim, of the womb of the mother, it says tanaffas, either kharaj, meaning that it was removed after it came out or exited out of the womb. So that's another reason why they call it what? They call it nifas. One reason is because, like we said, it is extracted or derivative of the word tanfis. And tanfis, like we said, it means to remove something or extract it or take it out. So that's one of the reasons why in the Arabic language it's called nifas. Or it's called removal, or it's called to extract, or it's called exiting out. As we know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he says, Man nafasa an mu'min, man nafas, whoever removes from a mu'min in hardship, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remove from him a hardship on the day of resurrection. So that linguistically, here in the Arabic language, you see the connection of why they call it nifas. Because nifas, like we said, is removing or extracting or taking something out or exiting something out or having it removed. So that's one of the reasons why they call it what? Nifas. طيب. We also said that the woman, when she's on her postnatal bleeding, after her pregnancy, she leaves off the salah, she leaves off siyam, while she's on her postnatal bleeding. Now, the narration where it says that, if you notice in the narration, it says it goes up to what? 40 days. Right, everyone? 40 days, is that a prerequisite where a woman has to wait this moment in time, or this period of time, where she leaves off the salah and leaves off siyam and all these other different affairs that she leaves off while she's on her mens? Is 40 days, she has to leave off these affairs for 40 days? طيب. The meaning of the hadith and the message of Allah where he said 40 days is not the meaning of what women would think, or a lot of people would think, based upon when they read the word or they see the word 40 days. It's not the meaning. Because I heard brothers say that. When a woman is on her postnatal bleeding, no, she leaves off the salat, siyam, and all these other affairs for 40 days. And I said, that's not correct. That's not the meaning of the hadith. The meaning of the hadith is that the Prophet ﷺ is giving the furthest extent of most cases of what was considered or how long nifas lasts. That's all. He's given a time limit of what, in some cases, what will be the furthest extent of how long a woman's postnatal bleeding will last. That's it. But she will not actually have to wait these 40 days. Some women, after they have their pregnancy or after they give birth, some women only have postnatal bleeding for 5 days. Some women have it for 10 days, and then it stops. Some women don't even have one. They might have it for a day, and their body return back to normal, because everybody's body is different. Right, everyone? Some blood might last for 15 days. Some of it might last for 20 days. Do we say here now that a woman, even though the blood stopped, let's just say she gave birth, she had the what? Postnatal bleeding. It stopped after 6 days, let's just say for example. She's seen that she's totally pure. So now, do we say to the woman, no, sister, you're supposed to wait 40 days, even if you do see that you're purified? That's incorrect. So once a woman sees that she's purified, the blood stopped, and she also sees what they call al-qassat al-bayda, that whiteness that comes out, because there's a white fluid that usually comes out after a woman has her mens, and sometimes when she has, of course, her postnatal bleeding, there's like this white type of liquid or fluid that comes out. That is a sign that she's purified. That's a clear sign. Even to the point where during the time of the Message of Allah ﷺ, that the sahabiyat, that the female companions, they used to call it al-qassat al-bayda. Al-qassat al-bayda is that white liquid, or this white type of fluid, that usually comes out after she becomes purified. Even the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha, she even told one of the women who had this type of sickness, or she had this type of problem, she says, "La tasta'jili hatta taray al-qassat al-bayda." Do not be so fast or hasty until you see al-qassat al-bayda. That qassat al-bayda is that white fluid that usually comes out after the woman is purified and she has her mens. Sound like those children are really, it's really loud over there. Anyway. Al-qassat al-bayda, for the liquid that comes out in the fluid, that fluid that comes out is a clear sign that she's purified. Once, especially if she sees that, she will return back to praying and resuming her normal affairs of worship. And then it does not necessarily have to reach 40 days. Whoever tells you that is incorrect. That's not the meaning of the hadith. Like we said, there's some women out there whose bodies return back to normal after a 3rd day, after a 5th day, after a 10th day after a pregnancy, after a 15th day after a pregnancy. Some 20th day. Everybody's different. So here, during the meaning of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, it was giving the furthest extent of what a woman can wait. Even to the point you'll find that the great Imam al-Shafi'i, Muhammad bin Idris al-Shafi'i, even brings a statement we'll talk about, inshallah, after the month of Ramadan is over. He said he can even sometimes surpass 40 days in certain cases. It can even surpass 40 days. He said, so basically to show that everybody's body is what? Different. And that 40 days that was mentioned here in this narration of Salama, it's just giving them, in most cases, what would be the furthest extent of women will what? Leave off. And I'll even mention what the great Imam, Sheikh Salih Fawzan, that he mentioned in this regard. He says, وَتَمْتَدُّ 40 يَوْمًا وَهُوَ أَكْثَرُهُ عند جمهور أهل العلم. لهذا الحديث لأن قولها كانت النفساء على عهد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم هذا له حكم الرفع أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أقره وما أقره عليه الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم فهو تشريع. وهو من أقسام السنة to the end of it. Anyway, he says that the Prophet ﷺ had mentioned 40 days here. He says that is the most days. He says وهو أكثره. That's the most days, with the majority of Ahl Ilm. When Salama said in the narration, she says, during the time of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, that the women that were on their postnatal bleeding, he said this narration takes hukm al-rafa', meaning it takes the ruling of a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Is it the Messenger of Allah ﷺ that he actually acknowledged this affair and said that it was what? That he approved of it and he acknowledged it. So during the time of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, he would what? He would approve of what would be the furthest extent of what a woman would wait if she was on her postnatal bleeding after the pregnancy. So when the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, what he approved of is considered tashri', it's considered a legislation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because we know from the different approvals of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, either verbally or by his actions, or by what he was silent from, or he did not say anything in regards to certain affairs, what was also considered a sign of approval in certain things. Because if it was something that was displeasing to Allah, Allah will reveal it to his messenger to tell the people that this is something that Allah is not pleased with. And he would have clarified the ruling in regards to it. So during the time of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, the women of the furthest extent of what they would wait after their pregnancy was 40 days. طيب, what is the benefit of the hadith? The benefit of the hadith, number one, الاحتجاج بما يفعل في عهد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وأنه إقرار منه. So number one, what we extract from this narration is that to use as an evidence of what the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم would approve of. And that approval from him, it would take the narration or would take the ruling of a hadith. So if you notice in this hadith, it says, during the time of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, women would do such and such. Meaning that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ approved of it. Meaning he did not tell them that what they were doing was incorrect. Even though it was taking place in abundance, because there was a lot of women who we know had get pregnant, and after they become pregnant or after they give birth, the blood of the postnatal bleeding would start. So this was something that was widespread. As they say, مِمَّا عَمَّ بِهِ الْبَلْوَى. It was from those affairs that it was so widespread there would have to be some type of clarification in regards to this matter. So the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, due to the fact when he heard the women were waiting this amount of time, of it being the furthest extent, he never said anything was wrong with that. And we know that even though when he said and showed this type of approval, this was considered a type of legislation. Because if it was something that was displeasing to Allah, the Messenger of Allah would have spoke out and clarified what was correct and what coincided with the revelation. طيب. So number two, what we extract from this hadith is this is an evidence to show that a woman that's on her postnatal bleeding, she leaves off salah and she leaves off fasting, similar to what? A woman being on her meds. طيب, there's another thing I wanted to stress here. And this is something important. Some sisters are aware of this and some of them are not. Now listen to this. ولكن لابد أن يكون ما ولدته فيه قد تبين فيه خلق إنسان بأن يكون قد وضحت أعضاؤه فإن ألقت مضغة ليس فيها تخليق فإنها لا تعتبر نفاس. Listen to this part. However, if a woman gives birth and it's clear that the formation of the baby is there, فيه خلق إنسان, the formation of the creation of the baby is clear. For example, meaning that all his limbs are what? Are formed. They've grown. Now listen to this part. However, if she now was in a state where she just gave birth and what she pushed out was just a morsel of flesh, there was no formation of the baby, it is not considered nifas. It's not considered postnatal bleeding. during the stage of when it was what? A morsel of flesh, whereas the formation of the baby did not become complete. And there's no body parts, there's no what? Formation. If that's the case, if she gives birth to this morsel of flesh, and there's no body parts that's been formed, then it is not considered postnatal bleeding. Is that clear what I'm saying? وَمَا يَأْتِيهَا مِنَ Someone said no? What's happening? What she say? Naam, or did she say yes, or did she say no? No. So sisters, when you over here far away from, if you say naam, it sounds like no. So if you say yes and no, that'd be more clear to me. Because you say naam, it sounds like from a distance you say no. طيب. إذا فيه تخليق فإنها لا تعتبر نفاس. وما يأتيها من الدم يعتبر دم فساد والنزيف. Now listen to this. What comes to the woman of blood, if it's in this trimester of a pregnancy, let's just, for example, now let's break it down. Basically, just to make everything clear, let's go to the hadith of Ibn Mas'ud, as we know. He says, قَدْ حَدَّثَنَا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ الصَّادِقُ الْمَصْدُوقُ إِنَّ أَحَدَكُمْ يُجْمَعُ خَلْقُ أَحَدِكُمْ فِي بَطْنِ أُمِّهِ 40 يَوْمًا نُطْفَةً ثُمَّ يَكُونُ عَلَقَةً مثل ذلك ثم يكون مضغة مثل ذلك ثم يأتيه الروح أو يأتيه الملك فينفخ فيه الروح ويؤمر ب4 كلمات فيؤمر بكتب رزقه وأجله وعمله وشقي أو سعيد. To the end of the narration, where the Prophet ﷺ said that the formula of the formation of one of you is gathered in the one of the womb of your mother, 40 يوما نطفة. The first 4 days in regards to it being a mere clot. It's a clot. So in the first 40 days, it's what? It's a clot. It said, ثُمَّ يَكُونُ عَلَقَةً مِثْلَ ذَلك. No, excuse me, I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry. When it first starts, it's a drop. When it first starts in the beginning, the initial beginning of the pregnancy, he says, 40 يوم نطفة. It becomes a drop first. It's like a drop. ثُمَّ يَكُونُ عَلَقَةً. Then it becomes a clot. ثُمَّ يَكُونُ مُضْغَةً. Then it becomes a morsel of flesh. So number one, we have a clot, right? Then number two, we have what? We have a, why do I keep saying clot? It's Siyam. Siyam affects your mind. For the first semester, or the first stage of the baby, is it's a drop. So number one is a nutfa. It's a drop. Then it's a clot. Then it's a morsel of flesh. Let's just say now a woman gives birth to or has her pregnancy while it's in these stages. What is it considered? Is it considered nifas? Is it considered postnatal bleeding? Or is it something else? Based upon what I just said, what is it considered? If a woman now was to have a miscarriage, she had a miscarriage, a clot came out, or drop came out, or clot came out, or morsels of flesh came out. There's no formation of the baby. What is this considered? This care is considered, sisters, is considered to what's considered istihada. It's considered istihada. It's a hemorrhage. It's a damu fasad. Why? Because we said it's the formation of the baby was not what? Complete. If there's no formation of the baby, where there's no parts, there's no body parts where you see actual, where it's clear, as they say takhliq or khalq insan, where formation of the body parts was actually, it was formed, it was complete, the stages where you seen the body parts of the baby. If this is the case, where she gives birth to now, where the body parts are formed and completed, and she gives birth, then in this particular instance, and in this trimester of her pregnancy, it is considered postnatal bleeding. Why? What is the key word that I use? The key word I used, there was formation of the baby, and there were parts that were completely formed. If she gives birth, and the baby comes out, and all the parts are formed, and blood comes out of the woman, that's considered postnatal bleeding. If there isn't any body parts, and the baby has not been formed, especially in the first trimester of the pregnancy, whereas it's either a clot or, for example, it's a morsel of flesh where there's no parts, and she has a miscarriage, here it is not considered postnatal bleeding. It's considered damu fasad. It's considered istihada. So if she had a miscarriage, especially, for example, and let's just say in the first trimester of the pregnancy, or the first stages of the pregnancy, where it was just either a drop or it's considered, or if it was a morsel of flesh, or if it was a clot, if this comes out, she would not leave off the salat. And she would not leave off siyam. Why? Because we said it is similar to istihada. We said istihada, a woman is considered what, everyone? It's as if she's in the hukum of a tahirat. It's as if she's in the hukum or the ruling of a woman who is pure. Right, everyone? Is it clear? So far what I'm saying? We said istihada as if a woman is pure. For sisters who's now over there, they didn't come to the previous classes, they're lost. I know they lost. That's the reason why I keep telling everyone, please, if you missed the class, listen to it online. Because my classes are not lectures. In order for you to understand the next class, you got to go back to the other one. Because these are classes, they're not lectures. And this is what I'm trying to get everyone acclimated in this community. It's not a lecture. In order for you to understand what I'm saying, you have to go back to the previous classes. So in regards to what we're saying, that a woman, before the formation of the child is formed, if she has a miscarriage and there's no formation of the child, there's no body parts formed, and let's just say she gives birth in the early trimester, whether it be a clot or morsel of flesh or etc. If this comes out and the baby comes out, it is not considered postnatal bleeding. It takes another hukum, another ruling, which is called istihada. It's damu fasad. It's a corrupt blood or a hemorrhage, in which we talked about before that if this is the case, then a woman does not leave off the salat, and she does still fast, and she still prays. You'll find that Ahl Ilm, the fuqaha from Ahl Ilm, that the scholars of jurisprudence, the scholars of fiqh, يقولون إن أقل مدة يتبين فيها خلق الإنسان عندما يدخل في الأربعين الثالثة يعني بعد 81 يوما لأن الجنين يكون 40 يوما نطفة. Now listen to this. The least period of time, the least where the formation of a baby manifests, they said it usually comes in the third trimester of when the baby is in the womb of the mother. Meaning, if you want to say, just to make it more clear, meaning on the 81st day after she becomes pregnant. Meaning, بعد 81 يوما, after 81 days. So that's the least amount. That's the least amount of days. So after 81 days, usually, there's some formation of the child. Because we know in the first 40 days, the fetus, as if on the first 40 days, the first trimester, the first stage, is a drop. It's a nutfa. The fetus is a drop. Then we know in the next 40 days, it's like a what? It's a clot. Then we know that it can be like a what? Morsel of flesh. So في بداية الأربعين الثالثة, من بعد 80 يوما يبدأ حينئذ تخليق الأعضاء وتفريدها فإذا تم له 4 أشهر بعث الملك, to the end of it. So the least it says, after 81 days, usually in most cases, you'll find the formation of the parts of the baby starting to now be formed. And it starts to be singled out, or it starts to become manifest and clear. So now, usually if 4 months elapses and passes, if 4 months, not months go by, then the angel comes. And the angel blows the spirit in it. That is fil arba'in al-rabi'ah. And that's in the 4th trimester, or the 4th stage. That's in the last stage, of course. Fil arba'in al-rabi'ah, in the 4th trimester. Then will be the birth after that. After what we usually in most cases, which is 120 days, usually. But just to make everything clear, just to make everything concise, straight to the point, so everyone won't get confused, to make it basic. Look at the formation. If a woman gives birth, she has a miscarriage, especially in the first early stages of the pregnancy, especially. Not all the time, but usually in most cases. She might go to the hospital and the doctor, if you ask the doctor, well, what came out? Did you see some type of formation of the parts of the body with their limbs? If the doctor says no, there wasn't any formation of the baby, then here a woman will take the hukum that is what? That it is istihada. Now in the last trimester, as we know, we usually when it takes place, formation of the limbs and the different parts of the body. Once it's been formed, if she has a miscarriage, or if she has an early pregnancy, where the baby is what they call preemie, or premature. In that case, then that's considered nifas. If she gives birth, if the parts are formed, or if she has a preemie or premature baby, or what have you. If she gives birth and blood comes out, that blood is considered nifas. It's considered postnatal bleeding. Is it clear what I'm saying? I'm just happy they understood. Al-Mas'alah al-Thalitha. Just to make sure that the sisters, all the sisters, how many sisters over there now, if you mind me asking? Does everyone understand everything I'm saying so far? Gee. أن النفاس مثل الحائض تضع الصلاة والصيام. This is something that we also mentioned. I don't know if some of the sisters were late, but just to re-emphasize it or reiterate it again. I hope our people don't sound like I keep regurgitating the same thing over and over again. But anyway, طيب, النفاس. The reason why I repeat to make sure that everyone understood. Because I do repeat, and then you'll have after the class, they'll ask the question. You'll be like, I just said that 10 times. That does happen. But just to make sure that everyone has it clear so they can understand, so they'll know what to do when these type of affairs happen. Because all of us are tested with this, especially in our families. But we also discussed that nifas or postnatal bleeding is similar to what? It's similar to a woman's mens. She leaves off the salah, she leaves off siyam, and it's not permissible for her to have intercourse if she's on her postnatal bleeding, or she has postnatal bleeding. However, we know that the man can indulge in as far as enjoyment with his body, which is not actual intercourse, as far as fondling with her, and I think everyone knows what I'm talking about. وَلَا يَجُوزُ لَهَا اللُّبْث فِي الْمَسْجِدِ. As far as it regards to the hukum of whether or not a woman can come in the masjid while she's on her mens or on her postnatal bleeding, we'll discuss that on a different occasion. And also in regards to the recitation of Quran and touching the mushaf, I'll discuss that also a little bit later. That has some details in it, which I'll discuss later. And the hadith is an indication that that's the furthest or the most amount of time in which a woman will sit is 40 days, and that's not the meaning of the hadith where a woman will actually wait this period of time, as we discussed. So no one to read this hadith that we just mentioned and have the wrong understanding or the incorrect understanding, that woman has to leave off 40 days. Like we said, everyone's body is different. Every woman's body is different. Every woman is there. Everything is different as far as how long it lasts, or the chemistry, or whatever, or what the different elements that takes place in women's bodies. All of them are different. However, everything in regards to the hukum of a ha'id, of a woman that's on her mens, takes the same thing in regards to nifas. As far as a woman's postnatal bleeding, whereas if the blood stops, she has to make a ghusl. Same thing as regards to women's mens. If she sees purification, she has to make a ghusl. She has to make a what? Ghusl. ولو لم ينقطع عنها الدم عند جمهور الأهل العلم وتجب عليه الصلاة ويجب عليه الصيام وإن انقطع في أثناء الأربعين فإنها تصوم. We already talked and discussed that. If the blood stops during the 40 days, then she will resume fasting and worship. Before the 40 days is over, she can resume fasting and praying and being intimate with her spouse if it stops before the 40 days. So in regards to these ahkam, there's a little bit more details we'll discuss, and inshallah, like we said, we'll entertain them, and we'll do the different types of masail, or the more difficult matters that are a little bit more in depth. We'll take that after the month of Ramadan is over, once we completed the chapter of nikah. So we'll stop here and just give everyone that introduction, and I'll suffice with that, because it gets just a little bit more tricky in a little certain matters. In certain cases, it does get a little bit difficult. But inshallah, we'll cover all that after the month of Ramadan is over, inshallah. Right, is there any questions so far? Any questions? Anything in regards to what we discussed, or siyam, or fasting? I can't hear. There was a question? No problem. Now, a woman can wear perfume in the house for her husband. For her husband, or in the house, in regards to her maharim. If she wanted to wear like a nice fragrance in her house, that's just in the house, then that's permissible for her. As we know, the woman, basically with the message of Allah, something happened. I can't. No. The woman is not supposed to wear fragrances outside the house, due to the fact that, number one, the Prophet ﷺ had prohibited that the women were made. There's also a narration with which, inshallah, if I have time, a woman has to be careful, because if she prays out the house with an odor on her, then also the salat, the invalidity of her prayer being what? Invalid, with her having a fragrance on her. Absolutely. 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 Can validate the salat. Yes, absolutely. I'll bring the narration, inshallah. So that's dangerous for a woman. So that's number one. Number two, also the enticement of a woman and the promiscuity of the woman is usually derived by, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the woman to have those adornments and that beauty, to entice men and to be promiscuous. And from those affairs of promiscuity is a good smelling fragrance. And a good smelling fragrance from a woman will attract for a man to what? Be tempted and enticed So all these affairs in which Allah Ta'ala has made impermissible, in which a woman who have been decorated, and women especially that love to be enticed to men, you'll find narrations that these women are cursed. The women that love to show their body parts and show their bodies to attract, to entice, and get attention from men, and trying to get some men to look at them and attention. All these women, you'll find the narrations in which the Messenger of Allah ﷺ had talked about how they're cursed. They're cursed by Allah. And these are things in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like these affairs, and He does not like for women to be enticing to men, to where it's to a man that's not who Allah ta'ala has made halal for her. Rather, like we said, where now you'll have the opposite side of the spectrum, as they say, where you get rewarded if you entice a certain man. Who's that man who you entice? Your husband. That you'll get rewarded for it. You can't wear it outside the house at all. Further. If a woman is working in the store, and she's working in a stable place where she's selling oils to women, like sisters, this is only of course we know this is only for in the house. And she has to specify that. Like she has a store. She has a store, these are the good smell fragrances that you could do for your husband or what have you. Not going outside being like the men in the streets, like a merchant, having a table set up or putting it or going up to a man, here, smell this. Those things are not befitting for a woman. Do we know the origin of a woman? Women in their origin, if they haven't been manipulated by the outside influences of this world and all the different things we've been exposed to, whether it be from music and movies and the society that we're in, if a woman have been corrupted or her mind has been corrupted or polluted by these type of outside influences, a woman naturally is shy. She's shy. She doesn't want to be around men. She don't want to come up to a man. She doesn't want to talk to a man. Those things is from America. Those things is from what we learn from these movies, this music, this corrupted society we live in. They're the things that have altered women's natural disposition. But if a woman, if you left her and she hasn't been outside, these outside influences corrupted her, she would be very shy. She won't want to be around a man. She don't want to really talk to men unless she has to. She would be shy. So a woman now, selling oils, the point I'm trying to get to, just get back to the point. Women would be shy to come up to her, hey, try this. Smell that. You like that? That's not shyness. Here, wipe that. Here, put that on the hair. Coming up to women, and on top of that, another thing. You cannot sell and put things on certain people's bodies without their permission unless you ask them for their permission first. Certain people have allergic reactions and sicknesses. You put an oil on them and say, all right, why do you put that on me? That has happened to me. I had an allergic reaction. Somebody put something, wiped it on me, and I had an allergic reaction to it. So before you do those type of things, you need to be very careful. For number one, like I said, it's not befitting that women be a merchant on the street selling oils. It's not befitting. And like you said, you have all different types of people, from men she's going to have to now encounter and talk to a man and be in men's faces and all these other things, which is not befitting for a Muslim woman. It's not befitting. Now, if she's in a store, like it's a setting where, okay, it's a storefront where women come in, purchase overgarment, purchase different products, and say these are oils for the women, for their husbands in the house, and she specifies that. That's something different. Whereas the women only come in, she's selling it to them in order to what? In order for them to be decorated for their husbands, and decorated for a husband or a spouse in the house. That's something different. But as far as a woman being a merchant in the street, it's not befitting. How can that's what I'm saying. How is a woman that truly, as a Muslim woman, sisters ponder on what is the reason why you cover in the first place? The covering is to show modesty, that you're a shy woman that doesn't like to encounter and be involved with men. It shows modesty. That I'm a modest woman that doesn't like to be intermingled and talking to men and mixing with men and being in men's faces. That's what it's for. It's to show modesty. I cover my adornments. I cover my beauty. I don't want men seeing me. I don't want women to see my body. I don't want them to look at me and like I'm just a sex toy. Because that's what this society propagates. Women are just sex toys. That's it. You show your little booty, show your little breasts, show your little hair, show your little pretty face. Let's all look at you and enjoy it. That's what this society propagates. That's how they make money here, off exploiting women. It's a big joke. Men laugh all day. See, look at these girls showing their little booties. It's a joke. And women really think it's liberation. It's not liberation. You're oppressing yourself. So if that's the case where you're hiding your body now, you're hiding your adornments that Allah has adorned you with, that beauty that's supposed to be sacred to you. I'm not letting any man see this. This is only for certain men or certain people that can see this. And especially my husband. That's it. No more, no less. This is supposed to be something that is very sacred to a woman. Not for every Tom, Dick, and Harry outside to look at you. So now you in a man's face, when you're doing these fake fragrances, you're in her face now. You're in these men's face, you got to encounter men, do business with, now here, wipe that, brother, you like that? That's not befitting for a Muslim woman. It's not befitting. Then you got to take the risk on, sister, that what's dangerous now, you got to take a risk on, that fragrance might fall on you while you're dealing with those oils outside. So now you're going to be forced to keep washing it off and washing it off. Because now you pray and that's on you, you're sliding violent. Then on top of that, now you're outside with a fragrance on you. And men can smell you. So now you're falling into something else haram. So that's the reason why the point I'm trying to make is it's not befitting that a woman be on the street being a merchant selling oils. It's not befitting. But like I told you, if she has a storefront, where it's just a storefront where women can only come in or what have you, and she says these are the oils for the women, that she just for their husbands or what have you, no problem, inshallah. But as far as her going up and down the street like a merchant, no. We ask her, I strongly advise the sister to try to find another profession or way to get her provisions other than that type of job. That's not something that you'll never find that any of the sahabiyat, any of the beautiful, purified women of the companions of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did during their time to get money. You never find it. Not the women of the past, not the sahabiyat, not the salafiyat from the tabi'iyat, from the women who came after the sahaba, nor the scholars of this ummah, not even these contemporary days and times. In any country do you find that a woman going out on the street, walking up there on the street selling oils. That's usually things that men do. And even doing it with our brothers that do that, we have to advise them. Because even some of our brothers go up to women, non-Muslim women and Muslim women, white oils on. Hey, smell that, sister, you like that? Yeah, you can't do that, for Allah. So at any rate, I hope, inshallah, that clears and clarifies the question. Is there any other question? Do we have marriage contracts here? Say it again. What happened? Marriage contracts? Okay, inshallah. I don't think we have any here. We have to make some copies. So one thing I wanted to also discuss, like I told you, I wanted to make sure that a woman that's a new shahada did not know she's excused. For a person that's a new shahada, we be patient with them. Because like we said, due to the lack of knowledge and all the ignorance that's widespread, it is very, very, very essential that we take and have time and have patience with people. Our people don't know. And like we said, they have different masajid that are not educating and nurturing and cultivating the people properly. They're teaching them the wrong information. Then you have people out there who think that they're so-called knowledgeable that are teaching the people that are misleading them. Likewise. It's sad, but we are in a very sad state here, especially here in America. This is sad. People think we're in a good state. We're in a sad state here. Why we say that? When you only can now count on the number of people who truly are qualified to teach the people, when it comes down to only on your fingertips, that's dangerous. To now only maybe 8 du'at here in America. America is a huge place. This place is huge. Only 8 people, maybe 10 people at the most that have studied with the ulama, that have studied with Sheikh Rabi', who have studied with Sheikh Ubaid, who allowed to study with Sheikh Salih Fawzan, Sheikh Salih Luhaydan, who sat at the hands of Sheikh Abdullah al-Bukhari, sat at the hands of these ulama, and have came back to try to help their communities. That's only like a handful. That's dangerous. The rest of the people, everybody else is either know-it-alls, they know it all, I know it all, because I read this book, and I read this book, and I read that book, and this sister told me this, and that brother told me that. That's what else is out here. The self-made sheikh or sheikhat, or sheikhat women. Sheikha, a woman who's a sheikh. She's a self-made sheikh from reading a couple of books. That's what we see now. So-and-so sister so-and-so. Who made her a muftiya? Who made her to give her a fatwa? Who? And what else is out here is these deviant sects from the masajid, from the Muslims who are upon a deviant methodology. That's what else is out here. And if you listen to what they say, they are as ignorant as they come. Ignorant. All you got to do is go to one khutbah. I'm trying to tell you, maybe one khutbah will turn you off. What is he talking about? I didn't even understand. Sat there for 40 minutes to an hour. I don't know what he was talking about. Play. Anything else, sister? Questions about Siyam? As far as the marriage contracts, we'll try to make more copies later, inshallah. Anything else about Siyam? Anything else? And not only that, for the du'at that's left here in America that are truly qualified, them brothers now are getting older. A lot of people who are qualified, they're getting older. A lot of them are in their 30s now, their 40s, 50s. People getting older. Like I said, it's a dangerous state we're in. Dangerous. We keep trying now to allow the children and put in them the importance of the ilm of knowledge. It's becoming lost now. It seems like a lot of parents are pushing their children to the dunya. They're not pushing them to emphasize put emphasis on the knowledge of Kitab and Sunnah and Salafiyah. They're not instilling that in their minds. I see it here, especially in Delaware for me, 7, 8 months here, except for a handful of children. Maybe 4, I can maybe count it, maybe 4 or 5, that you can see that their parents are stressing the importance of ilm in their heads. You can see that the parents are really in their minds about how important it is to know Salafiyah, to know Aqeedah, know Tawheed, and know to stay away from shirk, and know what Sunnah is, and know what Bid'ah is, and know what the deviant sects are, and knowing having a knowledge about how you can distinguish between a person who's from the deviant sects and not, and instilling that in them. That's only a handful in this community. Maybe 5 children. The rest, it seems like they're being pushed towards dunya. Oh, son, get a job, college, class, come to the masjid is not all that important. Or they'll try to instill in them as the masjid is a disciplinary action, which is something that is incorrect. I don't know why people do that. What I mean by that is when your child does something bad in the house, go to the masjid. He's going to be like, why does the masjid have to be looked at as a disciplinary action? I don't know why parents do that. And I come at the parents' neck for doing that. Why do you do that? It's a disciplinary action, the masjid. That's the reason why when he gets to a certain age, when he rebels, he doesn't want to go to the masjid. Because it was always looked at as a disciplinary action. Only thing I know the masjid is when I got in trouble, my mom and dad would send me there when I did something bad. That's all they have at the masjid. That masjid is not a place for house of Allah where you enjoy to come to worship Allah and to do what you're supposed to do as far as getting yourself together and knowing the reason why you created. Because the reason why these people act like animals out here, they don't know the reason why they was created. They don't know the reason why, the reason of their existence, or why they're walking around. They're like zombies. So the masjid teaches you the why you were created, why you are in this existence, to help to disseminate the proper knowledge so you can know why you're here in the first place, which gives you now some type of high esteem about yourself to want to come to the masjid and learn. So you understand what I'm saying, everyone? Everyone is pushed towards the dunya now. It's pushed towards, and the children, like we said, we're losing our children to the streets. We're losing them to the streets while, like we said, the emphasis of ilm is not being emphasized. And it's still in our children here. It's bad. It's bad everywhere. It's dangerous. And my focus is on a lot of the youth. Trying to get the youth to come back to the masjid. But it starts with the parents. It starts with the parents. And I keep telling everyone, every community I go to, I've been from Philadelphia to Washington, D.C. to here. If the parents are not on one page with the imam and the people in the masjid, your child is not going to receive the correct direction, the correct nurturing as far as his cultivation. If the parents in the house despise the imam, for example, and they see that, that's going to play a detriment to his growth. The parents are not in hand with as far as person that's educated them in their religion, and as far as cultivating them. If they hear you in the house, oh, you ain't got to listen to that stupid imam. Okay. At the end of the day, brothers and sisters in the household, you're not hurting me. You're hurting your child. I told the brothers and sisters that in D.C. Trust me, I've heard people now to this day say, everything you said, you're right. You was right. Everything you said was right. Brothers still come talk to brothers, they say to my wife now, you said was right. You was on point. The people, the imam and the parents in the house need to be on one page. If they not, it's going to cause some type of deficiency in its cultivation. Especially when they hear the parents bad-mouthing the imam at the masjid. Bad-mouthing him. Oh, that imam, he don't know what he's doing. Idiot, stupid dummy. And you saying this in front of your children. They looking like, dang, that's how y'all look at him? Dang, subhanAllah, a brother that really sacrificed him for the da'wah. He went overseas, tried to study with the ulama for about over years of his life. Come back, try to help his community. That's how y'all treat him? Treat him like dog poop in the street. And that's just not for me. That's for any of the du'ats. That's generalized. Because all the du'ats are sacrificing. Every single last one of them are going through problems, trying to help their communities. Sacrificing. Because we know the danger that if a lot of us are gone, the communities are going to be left with the ignorant people to mislead them. And we keep trying to now, it's an inner fight with a lot of us in ourselves. So we lead this country? Because it's like the people, they want to be abused. That's the vibe that a lot of us even discuss. I've discussed what a lot do. It's like the people love abuse. It's like they want somebody to mislead them. That's who they show love to. They'll give their money to them. But you straight, you good, you need anything? But people that really want good for them, love them and make sure they're straight, man, who is he? Until they get somebody who's ignorant and abuses them, then they're going to be like, dang, the person that was there, he wasn't all that bad. Maybe we should have treated him a little bit better. Wasn't all that bad in comparison to what we got now. How many people have dealt with that in their personal lives? Had somebody who we loved. Then Allah replaced them, put somebody else in your life because you thought you was missing something, and then that person was a nightmare. A nightmare. And then you compare it to the other person who you loved previously. When they're gone and they moved on, you were like, man, he or she wasn't all that bad. And that goes for men, and it goes for us, and it goes for the women too. Men have experiences what I'm talking about where we had good women. We treated them bad until they moved on. Dang, she wasn't all that bad. Now I got a nightmare. I got a total nightmare. And same thing with the women. How many women out there had good men, lost them because they thought they was missing something? He was a nightmare, and making him thinking he was just so bad, and then Allah really put somebody in your life as a nightmare, thinking you was missing something. Anyway, so it goes on to say, they want now to know breathable. Oh, as far as the nail polish, sisters, Allah knows best of that nail polish that can be, I don't know, somebody told me, like I said, that's not something I'm able to study. They talk about, I heard that there's nail polish out now that the water is able to penetrate under the nails. Allahu alam. Allah knows best. I don't know. They said they've now proved that this nail polish, it can now go under water, can reach under the nails, it can reach under the skin, so the wudu can actually penetrate the skin, and that doesn't invalidate the wudu, so the woman can pray with it on. Allahu alam. Allah knows best. I don't know. Like I said, the affair has to be studied, it has to be discussed. Certain people I've heard, because I've asked certain people, and like I said, I have to ask certain sisters. Certain group people in my family told me. Certain people have told me that it does not. They said certain women say it does, then they discovered and finally said no, it doesn't. If that's the case, the better it is. We know, alhamdulillah, we have the asl of the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yuribuk ila ma la yuribuk. Alhamdulillah, we have that narration. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam clearly said, leave off of what caused you doubt. Leave off what caused you doubt to what does not cause you doubt. Is it clear what I'm saying, sisters? We have the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Leave off what gives you doubt to what does not give you doubt. So if it doesn't, we have that narration of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that'd be enough to suffice to stay away from it. Just to stay away from it. Usually, I know women do that while they're on their ments to decorate for their husbands. If they want to do that, alhamdulillah, but know that as soon as it comes off, you have to remove it immediately. So you don't fall inside of some type of khilaf or some difference of opinion of what would necessitate the invalidity of your prayer. Any other questions? That's what we're trying to work on. Because that's what we're working on, inshallah. I'm trying to work on a new Shahada class. First, I'm trying to get the children, the youth to come to the masjid. The first thing is we need the youth to come to the masjid. That too, and we also need qualified people to also help the children too. That's something else I'm always looking at. That's also something else I'm looking at. Is there anything about Siyam? Say it again. Oh, that's crazy because I was just about to read about that too. Now, at any rate, regards to toothpaste, I'm glad you asked that. Regards to toothpaste, the origin of using a toothbrush or the siwak, if you want to get back to it, the siwak is the actual wooden stick. That's permissible. That's permissible. That's permissible while you're fasting, while you're not fasting. Even if a little bit of wood that gets in your mouth, you spit it out, it does not affect your siyam. That's number one. Number two, if you want to use your toothbrush just to brush it, even though certain people probably going to find this weird, the origin is if you want to use the toothbrush by itself, that's permissible also. Now the question is, can you use it along with toothpaste? Ahl ilm say that it's detested. We cannot say it invalidates your fast. But if you can do it, whereas you can prevent it from you not swallowing it, then of course, then one can use it. But you'll find that Ahl ilm say it's better to leave it off due to the fact that you might slip and it might actually be swallowed. But they do not say it's haram. It's not haram. But like we said, if you do it, be very careful. If you brush your teeth, you use toothpaste while you're brushing, make sure you don't swallow it. Is it clear? Any other questions about siyam? Any other questions about fasting? Yes, you could. You can. If there's a need for the tasting of food, you'll find even Shaykh Uthaymeen discusses that. You can taste it, just be careful. Absolutely, you can't swallow it at all. Is it clear? Especially if you're a person that thinks you're going to, that's dangerous. طيب, any other questions? Any other questions? About Siyam. That's it? Alhamdulillah. هذا وصلى الله وسلم بارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.